So check this out. These are just the different business credit offerings that I've gotten just in the past week. In fact, I get so many of these, I have to throw them away hand over fist. These people probably have cut down entire forests in the last several months just to send me different credit offerings for the various businesses that I have. My name is Monica Meehan. I'm a serial entrepreneur and successful real estate investor, and I'm here to share with you that there is a secret that's being withheld from you, the little guy and gal in the world. It's called the using of other people's money, or OPM, through business or corporate credit. And so this can offer you an opportunity to be able to build wealth for yourself, short-term and long-term wealth, if you only understand how to be able to tap into this endless amounts of credit using the business credit or corporate credit strategy. So buckle up your seatbelts, because I'm about to share with you a secret that I've never shared before. It's called the credit stack attack, and this is going to literally blow your mind. So you're probably wondering, well, Monica, what is the credit stack attack? I have my board all ready to demonstrate exactly what this is and how you can maximize the amount of credit that you can get, unsecured credit that you can ideally use to build wealth for yourself. Now, let me warn you before we move on, so that we have an understanding between you and I. And that is, the reason people in this country and all over the world stay poor is because they think like a poor person. Poor people think about getting credit and running up that debt to buy big screen TVs, a luxury car that they can't afford, and all these other things that they probably should not be buying, instead of using that money to build wealth. So just to be clear between you and I, the secrets that I'm about to share with you is only to be used for good, meaning only to be used to get yourself into what we call constructive debt. Now, Robert Kiyosaki talked about this in his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He talks about the difference between destructive debt and constructive debt. So destructive debt obviously is wasting money on a bunch of stuff that you know you don't need, that stuff that you can do without, or to be able to sustain yourself with basic household expenses, and none of that money is being used to build wealth. And this is how you are able to, unfortunately, slip into deep debt and likely not see a way out unless you're filing for bankruptcy, which destroys your credit for 10 years. But when you deal with constructive debt, it essentially means that you're going into debt for the purposes of building a business or investing in real estate or something to build wealth for yourself, all right? So just to be clear between you and I, the secrets I'm about to share with you is only to be used for constructive debt, meaning that you're going to be using this to build a business, to start a business, to expand a business, or to invest in something, ideally real estate, okay? So I'm glad we got that clear and out of the way. Now I could share with you the secret of corporate or business credit. So you might not be understanding exactly what corporate credit is at this point, and I'm going to fill in the details and the gaps for you right now. And so corporate credit is credit you can get from your corporation or from your business entity. Now, for it to be an entity in and of itself, it does have to have something called an EIN, which is an employer identification number, which is essentially the social security number for your corporation. So ideally, you'll start by forming an actual corporate entity in the state where you live now. So for example, if you're in California, you want to file a California corporation. If you're in Florida, you want to file a Florida corporation, et cetera, et cetera. And then at the same time as forming your corporation, you'll want to get something called an EIN, or employer identification number, at that same time, so that the corporate formation company can get that EIN for you while you form your corporation. So then that way it's kind of a one-stop shop deal. You don't have to worry about trying to get it yourself later. You can save yourself a few bucks by going to the irs.gov website, and you can file your own EIN paperwork if you'd like. But half the time, the IRS government website never works correctly. I've had many, many times in the past where I've formed a corporation. I've gone to the irs.gov website saying, hey, I'm going to save myself like 75 bucks in fees, and I'm going to file my own EIN online, and then lo and behold, the government website does not work, okay? So just pay the extra 35 or 50 bucks or whatever it is to have the formation corporation company. They can file your EIN at the same time as filing your corporation. Now, what you want is something called a for-profit company. And you don't want a nonprofit because it takes so long to be able to get approved through the IRS to be able to have that designation for their corporation. So just get yourself a for-profit corporation in your home state. It's up to you if you want an LLC or a corporation. I prefer to get a corporation. So all corporations are born a C corporation until you change it to an S corporation. C corporations are double taxed, which means that it's taxed at the level of the corporation, meaning all the profits are taxed at the level of the corporation, and then you get taxed again at the personal level when you get your K1 is what they call it, meaning it's basically essentially your tax paperwork on your personal level to show what you have to pay as a personal individual of one of the owners of the company or the owner of the company. So it's double taxed. This is one of the reasons why I don't like working with a C corporation. So immediately when you get your corporation formed, you should then change it from a C corporation, which it's born a C corporation, to an S corporation through a form called the 2553 form. You can go to the irs.gov website for that one, and you could type in form 2553 in the irs.gov website. And as long as you have your EIN number, you can then go ahead and type out the PDF online, and you're essentially going to have to print it out and either fax it back to the IRS or mail it to them because they're old-fashioned and they're still on an obsolete system, and you can't just file it online, unfortunately, right now, today. So you can save yourself about $125 to $150 because what's going to happen is these corporation formation companies, what they'll do is they'll charge you $125 to $150 to simply fill out that form for you that you still have to either fax or mail in after you sign it. So you might as well just save yourself that extra money. Don't try to chintz out on the EIN. Get all of that in with the corporation formation, but later on you can change it to an S corporation on your own after you get all your paperwork in your corporate doc book, okay? So that's how you essentially form your first corporation. And now, if it's an LLC, you don't have to worry about changing it to an S corporation because that doesn't count for an LLC. It only counts if you start off with a C corporation, a C corp for profit, and not an LLC. So that's what you need to do is start off with that. I strongly urge you to use a company called AmeriLawyer.com. I've been using them for years. They're pretty much the best in the business. LegalZoom and others, they take a long, long time to form your corporation. So you should use AmeriLawyer or somebody that's local in your state. You can use either or. And so that's the first stop that you do is you have to get yourself a corporation. Now, once you get a corporation, you can then immediately qualify for unsecured credit. Yes, even if you're a brand spanking new business. Now, I'm going to share with you something that you might not want to hear. And that is you're going to have decent personal credit. Because even though you're going to be applying for business credit, they're still going to check your personal credit report to see if you're credit worthy, meaning do you have the ability to write a check or to pay your bills? Because even if it's a business credit card, it's not going to go on your business. It's going to only go on your business Experian credit report. It's not going to go on your personal credit report unless it's Discover Business or Capital One Sparks card for business. If it's either one of those credit cards, it will end up on your personal credit report. By the way, do not ever apply for a Capital One Sparks business card or a Discover Business card because they will end up on your personal credit and it will weigh down your FICO score. But all the other credit companies out there, like American Express, for example, Citibank, Chase, all the ones that I constantly get, U.S. Bank, Ameris Bank, all these different banks out there, they do not report on your personal credit report, which does not weigh down your score. That's the beauty of having business credit. And so once you get your corporate docs and you now have a formed corporation, you can immediately start applying. But like I said, your mid-FICO needs to be up there. So you're probably thinking, well, Monica, what does my mid-FICO have to look like on the personal level? I'd like to see it at 720 or above, and when you're at 750 or above, the sky is pretty much the limit. The seas will part for you, and you can pretty much qualify for almost any type of business credit card, even with a brand spanking new business. So if your personal credit's in the crapper, I strongly urge you to watch some of the many credit videos that I've done here on YouTube, and you can see exactly what you need to do step by step to fix your credit, because believe it or not, you can fix your credit quick. And a lot of people, they kind of scoff at the idea or they try to hire somebody to do it. You can do it yourself. If you don't want to do it yourself, I do have a recommendation for an AI software-based program that you can use that can help you fix your credit if you really want help. But I strongly urge you to do it yourself. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to do it. And you can save a lot of money by doing it yourself. If you try to hire somebody for hundreds of dollars a month, many times they scam you and they just don't do a good enough job. You yourself will do a better job than many of those companies out there because those companies are working on thousands of people's credit profiles. You're only working on one, yours, right? So that means that you have undivided focus on your credit. and you can do a much better job fixing your own credit. So don't think that somebody else will do a better job. They don't. So start fixing your credit. Use a lot of the other videos on YouTube that I've provided for you to be able to do this, and then get that FICO up at least over 720, ideally over 750, but 720 is acceptable. And then and only then should you start the process of applying for business credit. So I've had some of the people on YouTube, they're like, Monica, I have a business, and usually you'll start to get these in the mail automatically once you start a business. Like, I don't know how they know, but you're on some mailing list all of a sudden, and you get these pre-approvals in the mail all the time once you have a brand spanking new business. By the way, Chase Inc. will probably give you about 50 grand right off the bat in unsecured credit, plus usually a 0% APR promotional period of about 12 months. American Express also has some pretty good deals, as well as other banks that will send you credit offerings as well. And so you start applying for those. Every single one of these that come in, you can start applying for. Now, you're probably thinking, okay, well, that's great. What do I do? Like, what is this credit stack attack? Like, how do I actually turn this into real money that I can use to invest or that I can use to start a business? Well, starting a business is easy. Like, say, for example, you want to start an internet business. Well, many times you can use one of these credit cards to pay for and start an online internet business, for example. But if you're trying to invest in, say, stocks or real estate, for example, and you're like, well, how am I going to get the money off my brand new Amex or my brand new Chase Inc. or my brand new, other Citibank card or whatever you got? How am I going to get the money off of it? And it's fairly easy to do that. There's several ways that you could do it, actually. There's something called a convenience check. And you can actually call the bank and ask them to send you a convenience check or a set of convenience checks. And they're just like regular checks that you would get out of your own bank account, that you would basically write a check to. And you could write a check to yourself, or you could write a check to, whatever you're trying to open up. If you're trying to pay for something, you can write a check for that as well. But the easiest way is just to write a check to yourself, or even better, write it to your business. So then that way it goes into your business bank account rather your personal bank account. And so if you're going to, say, for example, invest in real estate, that's how you can get the money off these credit cards, is by getting convenience checks and then writing the checks to your business bank account. And so ideally you'll have a business bank account. And by the way, if you want to use my banker, who can help you get set up with your first business bank account once you get your corporate docs. So you have to have your corporate docs in your hand with your EIN number. Once you have that, my banker can actually get you not only a business bank account, doesn't matter which of the 50 states you're in, she can open up an account for you, but she can also get you your first credit card, your first unsecured business credit card with a 7 to 9 month 0% APR promotional period. Pretty powerful stuff. I will include that just for you in the description box, her name and contact information. But again, you do have to make sure that you have your corporate book and your EIN to be able to call her. Otherwise, she will not be able to help you. So that's the first thing that you need to do, is get yourself that business bank account. You can start it with $100 or $200, open up the business bank account, and then immediately apply for that unsecured business credit card. She'll help you do all of that. You just say, I want to open up a business bank account, and I want to open up my first credit card, and she will be able to handle all of that for you. And so that's how you can get your very first unsecured credit card. That credit card could be worth anywhere from $25,000 to $50,000 in unsecured cash right off the bat, 7 to 9 months, 0% APR. But that's how it starts. You basically just start applying for credit. So you're probably wondering, okay, well, I have access to this money. Like, what am I supposed to use the money for? So this is why you really should have a business plan of some kind. It doesn't have to be one of those hardcore business plans that they make you do in college that's boring and they suck, and you never even need the business plan for anything anyway. You should really get yourself just some kind of strategy in place on what to use the money for before you apply for anything. Because remember, the time is ticking the very moment you borrow the money. And even though you might be in a 12-month 0% APR promotional period, at some point you're going to have to start paying that back. Otherwise, you're going to get hit with high interest. So you want to have some kind of money-making, cash flowing plan in place for you to fully understand, for you to actually start to make money to pay that back. One of the strategies I like to use is something called transitional community sober living housing, where you can put very, very little down on these property deals. I talk a lot about this in other YouTube videos I've done, so you might want to check those out. That's my favorite cash flowing real estate strategy, because all the other strategies out there kind of suck as far as getting cash flow. I'll just be honest with you. But the transitional community housing sober living, it's called local Section 8, where you're getting government money, $800 to $1,200 per person that's living in your, say, 4-bedroom house. You can pack up to 8 people, even sometimes 9 people in a 4-bedroom house, because it's called shared housing. And that's the way to make money in today's day and age in real estate. So say that's your plan. Say you're like, Monica sold me on this whole idea of transitional community sober living housing. I want to buy a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house in my area. So how do I buy that house with this borrowed money, right? So this is how you do it. You get your convenience checks. You write a check to your business bank account. You cash the business. You cash it in your business bank account. Now you have cash. So say you have $100,000 sitting in there. That's borrowed money from these different credit cards. So the cool thing about getting 4-bedroom, 2-bath houses instead of, say, apartment buildings or office buildings or other really ridiculously expensive properties is that you can actually get away with, in many cases, depending on where the property is located, with $100,000, say, to be able to use as a down payment to buy the property. But here's the beautiful part about this, is that I do something called subject to all the time. And subject to is when you essentially take over somebody's existing mortgage. So a lot of what's been going on, it may not be going on with you, which is fortunate for you, but there's a lot of people out there that are struggling to make their mortgage payments right now. And there's a lot of people that are in arrears right now, meaning that they're behind on their mortgage by 2, 3, 4, or 5 months, right? And so if they take a hit on their credit report with a foreclosure, they're screwed for 7 years on their credit. And so there's a lot of people that are willing to do what's called subject to, where you'll come in and you'll catch them up on their arrears and essentially take over their mortgage. So say, for example, they have a house that's listed, and we'll just use simple numbers just so I don't have to, like, overthink on my calculations, because I'm like, if I don't have a calculator, I can't figure anything out. So say, for example, you have a house that you found and it's $400,000, okay? So you can do this one of 2 ways if this is the strategy that you want to take. Strategy number 1 is that you can, buy it as an investor. You're probably going to have to put 25% down, not probably, but usually. You can put as little as 20% down, but just say 25% down. So that means that you're going to have to come up with $100,000 to close. And if you use one of my secret lenders, which I actually talk about this in my upcoming 2-day training, if you want to learn exactly how this real estate strategy works, go into the description box below, sign up for my 2-day training, and I talk exactly about how this works, including how you can gain access to my special lender who deals specifically with these kind of properties. And this person can actually get you funding for these kinds of deals with the $100,000 down. So that's plan A. So we'll put plan A, okay? That's plan A, where you basically put the 25% down. I told you where you're going to get the 100,000. You're actually going to get it by basically borrowing it from your business credit cards, okay? So you're not going to be using any of your own personal funds. Now here's plan B. Plan B is what we call sub 2, okay? So say, for example, they have their property listed at $400,000. It's been sitting on the market. These are the ideal ones to go after, by the way, the ones that have been sitting for 60 to 90 days plus, even better if it's been 6 months that they've been sitting unsold. And so you basically go to the property, you do the tour with the real estate agent, and you say, by the way, do you think the property owner would be open to creative financing? I will make sure that you get paid your commission. Very important that you say that second part, by the way, because usually they start to get really cringeworthy about creative financing until you tell them that they'll be guaranteed their commission. In which case, they're all over it, because this property hasn't been selling for 6 months. It's been sitting on the market forever. And if they know that they're going to get a commission check, they will be pushing your deal like you would not believe, like there's no tomorrow. So you want to make sure that you physically go to the property, view it, talk to the agent. You want to talk to the listing agent who listed it. And those are very highly motivated people to want to push your creative financing deal if you guarantee their commission. So it's a $400,000 deal, and subject to, they might be in arrears in their mortgage, but they only may owe, say they owe $300,000. Okay, they owe $300,000. Now you're probably thinking, okay, Monica, are you seriously going to make me put the $100,000 into? No, I'm not gonna. Not on a subject to. The only money that you should be putting in on a subject to property deal would be the commission, which we would be around. Let's see, if it's a 5% commission front to back on a listing and a buyer's agent, so on both sides on a 5%, that would be a $20,000 commission, okay? Again, I want to make these numbers simple so you understand, and I don't have to whip out a calculator. So it might be up to 6%, but we're going to use 5%. $20,000 is real estate commission. There's $100,000 equity in this, but let's not worry about this quite yet. So you're going to have to come up with the $20,000. And then, say for example, each house payment that they have on this property is $2,500, and they're 4 months behind. So that's another $10,000, because you're going to have to think about catching them up before you take over the property. Now, of course, you're going to be doing this with all lawyers in that state that handle real estate transactions. It's called subject to real estate. You want a subject to real estate attorney that specializes in that in your state. And you want to make sure that there's something called a warranty deed that transfers the property from their name to your name as far as the county is concerned, or rather your business name, not your name. But anyway, that's a completely different subject. I've also done a lot of YouTube videos on those as well. You might want to check those out. So you're going to need $30,000. So essentially what's going to happen is you're going to pay them $30,000. I would probably arrange it a different way to where you make sure that the agent gets the $20,000, and then you essentially take over their entire mortgage portal. So their login information, their password, you go into their mortgage portal, you essentially take out their current bank account information, you put your bank account information in there, you make sure that they're caught up on the $10,000 arrearage plus fees, and you change the password, and it's basically now your mortgage. Your taxes will stay the same in the same name. Your insurance will stay the same in the same name. You're not changing anything, and you should never refinance, because if you refinance, you're basically starting over. Many times these properties, these subject twos, you're getting a much lower interest rate. If they bought the property even 3-4 years ago, even a couple years ago, your interest rate is going to be a lot lower than what you can get right now. So you want to just keep this mortgage in place, because if you ever checked out an amortization schedule, you know that they really screw you over on interest for the first handful of years of the loan. So why would you want to start over with a refinance when you could just simply just carry this loan for the entire 30 years? So this is what you would do, is you would just need the $30,000, which you can get from your business credit, okay? So you have $30,000, and you can do these deals all day long. Like, you can line these deals up. You can actually get 4, 5, 6 houses. Each house on average is worth about $9,600 a month in cash flow. So if you get 10 of those houses, that's $96,000 a month. Now, of course, that's gross. So you take approximately half of that, and that's just a broad half. Usually you make a little bit more than that. So 96,000 divided by 2. Again, I'd probably need a calculator, but what are we talking? Like $48,000 a month with 10 houses, just like this, that you didn't even need to use any of your own money for, because you did something called the credit stack attack. Now let's actually talk about the credit stack. Let me see if I can actually get this up and over. So this is where the rubber meets the road, okay? So I'm going to be very clear. So now you have the strategy, which is the real estate secret strategy that I just talked about. And if you want to know more, just join my 2-day event that's coming up. Just go to the down below description box, and you can join in on that. Well, let's talk about the credit stack attack. It's not, so I'm going to be very clear and honest, and this is something I learned by accident, okay? This is not something people teach in school. This is not something even other investors or entrepreneurs will talk about amongst each other, but it's something that we all do. It's kind of like one of those hidden secrets that everybody who's been in business for a while, especially on the investment front, we all know about, we never talk about. Okay, so I'm about to share this with you in a way that probably nobody else has ever mentioned to you. So it's not good enough, unfortunately, to have just one business. So what you want to do is have business number one. Okay, get that one up and running. Get yourself a business bank account. Get yourself a business credit card. Several business credit cards. In fact, what you should probably do is the day that you apply for the business credit card with my banker, if that's the route you decide to take, also at the same time, go online, apply for an American Express card. Ideally, not one of the gold cards. You want like a Delta card or something like that. So apply online for that same day. And then also, if you go to Costco, if you happen to have a Costco membership, go to the membership desk in person. Don't do this online. Everybody always screws up and tries to do it online. Do not do it online. Go in person to the membership counter at Costco. Show them all your business stuff. Say, I want to apply for a business credit card. And it's going to be through Citibank. So it used to be through American Express years ago. Now it's Citibank. So Costco has a relationship with Citibank now. And you can actually get credit on the spot at Costco at the membership desk. Okay? You might have to upgrade your membership to a business membership, but so what? Who cares? So that's the second credit, or the third. Are we on the third credit card? Yeah, we have the first one, which is through my banker, the second one, which is Amex, the third one through Costco, and you can do like a Chase Inc., for example, or another credit card on top of that. So you should definitely apply for those all at the same time, all on the same day, so that all hit your credit, your personal credit, at the same time. So now you have, say, 4 credit cards in a perfect world, okay? All right. So that's cool that you have the 4 credit cards, and you could probably easily total, depending on your personal credit score, but let's just say for simplicity purposes, it gives you 100,000. That's probably going to be the low end, but I don't want to give you pie in the sky numbers. I'm always very conservative with my numbers. So let's just consider it's probably about 100 grand. You might even get 200 grand if you have a really good FICO score, probably even more than that if you have a really, really great FICO score. But say you got 100 grand on the low side, all right? A few months goes by. You want to get number 2. This is corporation number 2. Now let me tell you about corporation number 2. I don't like forming a whole trilogy of corporations in my own home state, especially if it's not one of these states. There are 4 states where you can file what we call an anonymous corporation, meaning nobody can ever find out who owns that corporation. It's like the maximum asset protection you could ever ask for. Those 4 states are Nevada, New Mexico, Wyoming, and Delaware. So again, Nevada, New Mexico, Wyoming, and Delaware. So unless you live in one of those states, if you do, you're blessed, because you should definitely form your corporation as an anonymous corporation. Pay the extra fee, pay the extra cost, make it anonymous if you live in those 4 states on number 1, okay? Number 1, though, if you don't live in one of those states, should probably be in your home state. This is where the beauty comes in, because number 2 can be in the anonymous state. You can have a completely anonymous corporation as number 2, and it could be in one of those 4 states that I mentioned, and you start the whole process all over again. You get your corporate book, your EIN number, you change it from a C corporation to an S corporation with Form 2553 with the IRS.gov website. You go through all of that stuff. You call up my banker, you get yourself another business bank account, you get yourself another 7 to 9 months 0% APR business credit card with that account, and you get your other 4 cards as well, or your other 3 cards as well. Get yourself another 4 cards, and then you're going to actually get the same amount or greater, depending on what your personal credit looks like. Now you have $200,000 to work with, okay? This is, again, what we call the credit stack attack. A few months goes by, again, you have now corporation number 3. This one might be an LLC because it might be attached to one or more of your houses. So say, for example, you are buying houses, and you're like, Monica, you always say, and if you don't know me, this is what I always say, you should get an LLC for your houses. So none of these are actually going to buy your houses, okay? So you're going to get a separate LLC for the houses that you purchase if you're doing the transitional community, sober living, Section 8, local Section 8 housing, right? So you're probably already going to have an LLC, and if you don't, then this is when you get the LLC. So not only does the LLC, not only does it have the house or houses that you're purchasing in the state in which you're purchasing property, which may or may not be in the same state that you live. So say, for example, you're an overpriced, ridiculous real estate market in California, and you're like, you can never cash flow over there. I could never cash flow over there when I lived there for 36 years. So I started to invest in the Midwest and in Atlanta and in Florida and other places where I can get affordable houses. So you might decide, maybe I'll invest in Indiana. I have family there, and there's a lot of opportunity. Okay, then you get yourself an Indiana LLC for your house or your houses in Indiana, right? Which would be in a different state than all these other ones. But again, wash, rinse, and repeat. What do? We call up the banker. We say, hey, we want a business checking account for my new LLC. I also want one of those 7 to 9%, 0% APR promotional business credit cards. Give me one of those. And then you do the same thing, and now you have another 4 credit cards. Now you have $300,000 accessible to you. But you have to be very careful with how you spend this money. It needs to only be as constructive debt, meaning you're using this money to make money, to invest in property, to buy a business, to start a business, whatever it is. It should not be used for buying a big screen TV and buying your own personal residence, paying for personal bills or food. None of that stuff, okay? It has to be used to build wealth. Otherwise, you're going to be broke. You're going to be bankrupt within a very short period of time if you don't do it the way I specify. So this is how you do it. And then now you have $300,000 to use. You could buy more houses. In the meantime, you're starting to pay the first $100,000 back from your cash flows from your property or from your business or whatever the case may be. Again, you have to be very careful with how you step this whole thing, because if you make one false move, unfortunately, the whole empire can come crashing down on you. So I do a little bit more research on the type of business or investing that you want to do. First, get yourself a really solid roadmap to be able to follow before you start getting the credit. Otherwise, you're going to get a bunch of cards that have a 0% APR, and the time starts ticking the very moment you get the card, and you don't even know what to do with it because you haven't formulated any kind of plan for yourself. So formulate the plan first, then execute the plan with the credit stack attack like I just talked about. And you can literally do this for another 3 corporations or another 6 corporations. You can keep doing this endlessly to be able to gain access to endless amounts of money to be able to ultimately use to build wealth for yourself. So if you found this to be valuable, please give me a nice thumbs up because that helps me out a lot, as well as subscribe to my channel because I have a lot more videos to come. This is Monica Maid signing off, and I will see you at the top.